For more on this, Federico Alves, he joins us live from Tampa. He's a political analyst for Latin America. Good to have you on the show. I guess my first question is, why are they leaving? What's the problem?
Well, we are facing a failed model, misnomer for socialism, a system that only prints money which becomes worthless and distributes the money to the poor people so they can vote in the 6 months prior to an election. So these people really have devaluated the currency to virtually nothing. The real income in real terms is, less than Haiti these days. It's closer to Cuba. So what we're seeing is people that were used to having a good standard of living. They suddenly wake up one morning and they have not security. They can be killed by for a phone, for a watch, and also they cannot buy the food or pay for the electricity and nothing.
Okay,
General level.
I think you're saying it in a real nice way, but it's not just the economy that's the problem. It's the government. Is that what you're saying?
No, it is the government. The economy is only a consequence of the failed policies of the government. For example, the main complaint in the whole Venezuela is insecurity. What does it mean? The government does not go to the places where they know the criminals live because that's the electoral base. And they are afraid if they send the army and start checking house by house and arresting the people that have weapons or whatever, people are not going to vote for them. So they allow all the criminals to run free and roam free throughout the country, and they are killing around 500 people a month. In 1 year in the whole country, we lost 24,000 people to fire weapons. More than Syria, more than Lebanon, more than Iraq, Afghanistan, you name it. There is a civil war in Venezuela, and it's exclusively because the government does not find a political way to intervene and capture the criminals, because they vote for them.
Does the government realize the situation that the future of the country is at stake? And I guess, is there the political will to address that issue head on? I mean, this is a dicey question.
No, the government really is trying to expel the upper middle class, the educated people, the doctors, the engineers, the lawyers, people that know another language. They are trying to, they are practically telling them in their face, leave the country. And simultaneously, they are importing millions of people that are highly illiterate, they have no skills, they don't speak Spanish, they don't even belong to a Western culture. They are trying to replace the upper middle class with imports, because they know that this generation that are coming from abroad, they were not going to interfere in their political means because they are foreigners.
I know what some of our viewers are probably thinking. Some of the viewers are probably saying, look, we're talking about a socialist economy, but what you're talking about is not just a socialist economy, because we have socialism in Europe, and that works okay for some countries. This is not about socialism. This is something perhaps a little bit further along the line besides that, right?
Absolutely. This is more akin to genocide and dictatorship than socialism. Socialism works. For example, the Chinese model works. It would require some human rights, but basically it works. It's a system that is sustainable. The European socialism works. Venezuela is not a socialist state. It's a dictatorship that uses the economy as another weapon to control power and to continue with this, year after year, election after election, they are just looking to stay in power and keep depleting the reserves of the country and stealing the money. That's all there is. There is no ideology in reality. It's just, we need the money from the oil for our purposes, and we're going to kill anybody to get through it.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I am going to say, what happens next to the country? Because you can't keep having doctors and engineers and educated people leave the country. We know what happens ultimately is that the country will either collapse or be a country of people of no skills. Something has to give.
Yes, and there is hope, of course. We are hopeful, and we are trying hard to unify the opposition. Mr. Capriles is the leader. We lost the election for a few votes. We're trying to convince the remaining people to stay in the country, not leave, wait until we have a chance to get back in power. We have a wonderful team in the opposition. Mr. Capriles, as I said, is the leader, then Mr. Aria, Mr. Maria Corina Machado, we have Leopoldo Lopez. We have 4 or 5 people that are really you know, they are skilled, they are prepared to take over the reins of the country, and eventually they will succeed, because
right.
this government is completely incapable of running a modern country like Venezuela.
All right, Mr. Alves, political analyst for Latin America, live for us from Tampa. Thank you for your candid thoughts on this topic on Venezuela.